Cousins Weird. Hello. We're together for once.
Yay! Nobody's sick.
No one's sick. The weather wasn't bad.
The weather is just friggin' cold.
Yeah, cold. I guess that's an excuse not to leave our house, even though I wanted it to be. Yes. And Margaret and I are both like, I'm doing a low carb diet, and she has to do a low sodium diet, so we can't have any of the same foods, and we're just trying to survive at this point.
So I brought snacks, and Colleen can't eat them.
That's okay. I'm drinking lots of water, and I had my snacks already for the time, so we're good. Everything's good. Everything's fine.
I got so excited because I found low sodium wheat thins and some hummus that had less than 100 milligrams of sodium per serving, and it just made my day. So I'm like eating carrot sticks with this like a touch of hummus on them, and it's just like, oh my god, I'm eating hummus. It tastes so good.
And Margaret was like, I don't even like raw carrots, and she's like, do you want to try one? And I said, sure. But it has 8 carbs, so I only had one little one. And I was like, oh my god, this is like eating candy because I haven't had any sugar. I'm like, I like it. I never liked it.
It tastes so good. It's
like I was like, oh,
apple.
yum. It was like eating an apple. It was like crunchy and sweet. And I was like, wow, that's crazy how your taste buds change, you know? We're trying to be healthy people. Ew.
Yeah, I have to, though.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, my doctor told me I had to. So.
Well, my doctor told me that I had to a long time ago, and I told him, shut up. I don't care what you say.
I was told I had to do I'm not doing low calorie. I'm doing low. So sodium.
You gotta focus on one thing at a time.
But I'm like eating healthier just because I'm not watching carbs, though, because I would die.
Well, it's hard to do two. If I had to do both things, forget it.
If I have to go low carb, I am not doing low caffeine or low sodium because
you can't only do one or the other.
No, because I'm like, ooh, I have egg salad, and then I can't put salt in it, and then I eat it on a no salt rice cake. It's crunchy though, so it's like
that's the thing. Crunch is good. Like those. Like Parmesan, you can't have these because it'd be really high in salt. But
I know,
Parmesan
but they're so good though.
So good.
Oh, I love those. But they're so salty because of the cheese.
Yeah, but I can have that, but she can't. So we're on the opposite ends of the spectrum right now. So,
but Swiss cheese I can have.
Oh, we can crisp up some of that.
I know Swiss cheese only has 50 milligrams of sodium, and all other cheese is like 150.
Is that crazy?
And it's all forms of Swiss cheese. So for some reason, Swiss cheese is low sodium.
Right.
And I'm fine with
that. And
I love Swiss cheese.
I'm tracking everything I'm eating, so like it's crazy like how many carbs and things, like if you like just like a carrot in 3 ounces there's 8 carbs. Like a carrot. It's a carrot, for God's sakes. But this isn't a forever thing. This is just cutting back for now, lose some poundage, and then, I'm gonna have cheat days because I can't do this for the rest of my life.
For me, it's more like I can't eat a lot of condiments.
Oh, I love condiment. I can't either, though.
I know.
Because there's sugar in them.
There's salt in them.
Mm-hmm. See,
They're
we're screwed.
Loaded with salt!
We're screwed. Both of us.
Mayonnaise, out of all of them, is on the lower side. And it's like,
too.
You look at the serving size, and it's like 2 tablespoons. That's a lot of mayonnaise. Coming from a girl who likes mayonnaise. Mm-hmm. So I've been eating a lot less mayonnaise on my stuff, because I'm like, I don't need that much, really,
Yeah. That's the thing, like, with... Like, I love ranch dressing. Mm-hmm. And the Aldi's brand Tuscan Garden ranch only has 1 carb and 2 tablespoons. I don't eat that much.
No.
I don't eat 2 tablespoons. So I have I make myself a chaffle in the morning, and I put some sriracha on it and a little bit of ranch. You can give me some...
Make yourself a
chaffle.
A chaffle?
Yeah.
What's that?
You have a little mini waffle maker, and you... Like, in the morning, I'll have, like, a egg chaffle, which is just eggs and cheese. And you can put veggies in it and stuff. And you throw it in your little waffle maker, and you make it so good. And then I do, like, last night, I did a parm chaffle, a chicken parm one, which was just chicken, cheese, and egg. And I threw it in there. And then I baked it with a little bit of sauce on it. It was really good. Everything is crispy. Sometimes I just put 2 slices of cheese in there and let them crisp right up good. And then put some turkey in the middle of it and eat it. It's like a crunchy wrap. So I had a chaffle.
You can't eat that.
I know, you can't have it.
A little bit of cheese. A little bit of Swiss cheese.
You can put Swiss cheese in it.
I do like Swiss cheese also.
But it's good. You can just, you don't have to put cheese in your egg. You can put an egg in there and just have like an egg patty, but you could just scramble an egg too. It's the same idea. So basically, it's not as fun as a chaffle. But give me ranch and hot sauce and I probably could eat anything you gave me.
And even like hot sauce, like, oh, there's so much sodium in it. I'm like, wait, that's in like a teaspoon? Like,
You're not having that
eating
much.
a teaspoon.
Yeah.
Unless you're my husband who eats like a tablespoon of hot sauce. He eats sriracha like we eat ketchup.
I eat pretty heavy-handed with the sriracha, but I know I don't eat what he eats, I'm sure.
No, like how if you eat mac and cheese and you squirt a bunch of ketchup on it, that's
what he does with sriracha.
Yes, I'm not even exaggerating. He's like, I could just squirt it in a spoon and eat it because it's not hot. I'm like,
sriracha isn't bad.
Insane. He's insane.
It is too much, so I couldn't do that. But
like,
sriracha isn't that hot.
It's like coated. Every inch of the mac and cheese is coated, and then he ate it all off and then squirted more on. Well,
I wonder if he's a zombie, because you ever watch the show iZombie?
Yes.
And remember she had to put hot sauce on everything? I know,
he loves that show. I think he's a zombie.
I love that show too.
If his hair is turning white.
Yeah.
He's got lots of white hairs in there.
He might be. He might be a zombie.
With his hot sauce addiction.
So I'm really happy we're in the same room doing this. This is better than being on
really
Zoom.
Is.
We have a cool special thing coming up. We're going to be doing a special interview next week that's going to go, it's going to be one of our episodes. So stay tuned for that. And do you want to jump in? You ready to jump in? You ready for this episode?
I am.
Okay. So
I am posting. We're going.
Oh yeah,
we're going live later, and I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah, we're gonna do our Terrible Trends episode after this one, so we'll be live on. So, I went with this episode because a friend of mine said that she just watched the documentary that had based kind of around that, and I had watched it like a year ago or so, and I was like, oh my god, I got to do this episode on this because I love this history of this. So I'm talking about the Cecil Hotel. Ooh. So the Cecil Hotel, if you don't know, where have you been? But is in downtown Los Angeles, right on the main street, Los Angeles, right in the heart. And it was built in the 1920s, and it was built to be a place where rich people would go to, like socialites or businessmen traveling. It was built near a railroad to make it easier for people, that kind of thing. It has an Art Deco style, and it's actually really beautiful. Especially the lobby and everything is very beautiful. It cost $1 million in the 1920s to build. Wow! So they were meant business when they built this hotel. It was a fancy place. It was fancy. There were over 4,000 pieces of furniture, and it took 100 trucks loads to get everything that they wanted, and everything was custom made for the hotel. So they really were serious when they were building this hotel to be like a fancy schmancy. Let's make a lot of money. Let's cater to the upper class. It opened its doors December 20th, 1924, and there were 700 rooms in this hotel, which seems crazy. Mm-hmm. I think 14 floors. It's full of marble, basically. There's marble all through the lobby area, the bar. The stairway is giant. There's stained glass throughout.
Is it still there?
It sure is still standing, yes.
No, all this stuff, like the stained glass stuff.
The lobby is gorgeous. I'll just put it there. The lobby's still gorgeous. Okay. However, when so one thing happened was that people started traveling by car. So train travel wasn't as big of a thing. So since they built by the train station, the hotel, it was losing its like niche, because people weren't coming in on the train like they used to.
Rich people weren't coming in.
Yes, the train, because they had cars, and that's the thing. So, what happened was the Great Depression hit, and that happened, and the economy collapsed, and the area around there became Skid Row. So you had this big fancy hotel smack dab in Skid Row, and there was a house of thousands of homeless people to this day, but it has become named the Haunted Hotel of Los Angeles. Ooh. So Skid Row during the Depression, and to this day, really, if you think about it, is where you end up when you have no other options left. It's like where you're going to go. So that's not an optimal place where you want a fancy $1 million hotel in the middle of where people are living homeless and not have anything.
Well, rich people don't want to drive through that.
No.
How dare
they were no longer rich people were staying there. So to survive, they started opening up to nightly, monthly, weekly things. So people, people, if they had a little bit of money, they'd stay there, the homeless, and if they didn't, they didn't. And I'm just going to tell about the history of kind of the area of Los Angeles during throughout the history of the Cecil, because the Skid Row piece, like in the 70s after Vietnam, soldiers with PTSD and drug addictions and stuff kind of gravitated to that area. Easy to get what you needed. You had groups of people that were like you there. So it kind of, people that were having mental health issues were gravitating towards Skid Row. Also, the rooms, and then if the Cecil, the rooms were really kind of cheap at the time. So because they had to get money. They didn't have the other option. Couldn't get rich people to come there anymore, so they had to do something to get money coming in. Also, in the 60s, the government, for some reason, and I should have looked more into this, had a big push to release people with mental illness back into communities. They thought that was a good idea. Which, probably in the 60s, is probably terrible to be in an institution, because I can imagine what it would have been like, you know? But I also know that there's some people that probably needed help, and they weren't going to get it anymore. So many of those people hit the streets of LA and ended up on Skid Row. First of all, you're homeless, going out west and staying in California year round.
People that were schizophrenic.
Yes.
Because that was just something, if you had schizophrenia, they just threw you in the asylum and left you there.
Yeah. And, well, you think about where would be a better place to be if you were homeless, though, where it was warm year round. California is a perfect spot.
Right.
And Skid Row was kind of famous. Like, they had, like, tent communities and things going on, you know?
Yeah.
So that was just, like, the history around, like, the building itself and how Skid Row came to be and how it was a big deal for, so Margaret was trying to quietly pantomime that she wanted to get a blanket, and I was like, what the heck is she doing? And I was like, I had to pause it. So anyway, no, you were fine. So anyway, that was like the history around it and how Skid Row came to be and what was going on around the hotel. So it kind of plays into the story of the history of the hotel itself. So at first it was booming, it was roaring, it was fancy place to be. Everyone went there. It was where you went. But then when the surrounding area started to decline, and plus the railroads weren't being used for travel anymore because rich people were using cars, it wasn't a place to go anymore. And over the years, the hotel has been a place of suicide, murders, and even housed some serial killers inside its walls.
When you were saying it was a fancy place, all I could think of is
who has ended up there. Don't say anything.
I'm not. I could just picture,
Mm-hmm. So, so many people have taken their lives inside this hotel. It got the nickname the Suicide, which is terrible.
Yeah.
November 14th, 1931, James Willie, 46, from Chicago, got a room at the Cecil. His real name actually was W.K. Norton. He actually only lived 15 miles away, but when he checked in, he said his name was James Willie's, and he lived in Chicago. He had disappeared from his home the Saturday before and wasn't found. He was found by a maid at the Cecil. He had poisoned himself, and there was, that's when they established his identity, because they found checks he had written out to his wife. Money he'd written out to her, and then he went to the hotel, lied where he lived, and then poisoned himself.
Wouldn't she get his money anyway?
I don't know.
It's
weird. September 17th, 1932, so like a year later, gunshots were heard inside the walls. A cleaning maid ran to the room and found a body of 25-year-old Benjamin Donian. He actually only lived 2 miles from the hotel. He checked in 2 hours earlier, and